Well, welcome back. We're now on video 3. This is a good one. I'm going to be talking about eyes and skin, but I'm going to spend most of the time talking about weight loss. But the principles I'm going to be teaching are, you don't just have to apply them to weight loss, you can apply them to life. I've actually been given an inspired program called Waist Watchers Winners, and that'll be coming up. But let's talk first about the eyes, healthy eyes. You know, we're so used these days to wearing sunglasses. People go out and they have sunglasses on, but you know there's research now that says it's a good idea, early morning, not direct sun, but to get some direct light down into your body, some direct sunlight. So that's a good thing to do. Take your sunglasses off a few minutes a day and let not, like I say, not direct, but some sunshine get in your eyes. There's some nutrients for your eyes. We know about lutein and zeaxanthin, blueberries, dark greens, carrots, and those sort of things, and eat carrots. And I'm going to tell this story because I always did with my kids. I would say to them, eat carrots. They're good for your eyes. Rabbits eat carrots. And did you ever see a rabbit wearing glasses? So, carrots. Anyway, the foods, the whole foods again, here we go again, foods of color. Good for the eyes. Now, I want to talk about the skin a little bit. If you're out in the sun a lot, you want to make sure you're getting plenty of vitamin C. If you're a sunbather, get plenty of vitamin C. It will help you getting sun damage from the sun. So nutrients again for the face. Getting off sugar. The AGEs, the ages, are chemicals that actually will age the skin, and they come from sugar. So you want to stay off sugar if you're interested in keeping yourself wrinkle-free. I want to talk for just a minute about something that I've started doing myself a couple years back, and it's called face exercises. And you know, you can actually, we work with the rest of our bodies. We work our arms, but we don't really work our face. Now, the facial muscles will elongate, just like any other muscle. So as we get older, everything starts to sag. There's actually a video, you can go on the website and find out, that I have been using for a couple of years. It's 8 minutes of facial exercises where you actually work all the muscles of your face, and I think it makes a big difference. And I think it's very helpful for women. And so I'm going to be doing my own face exercise video coming soon, so look for that. Now we want to move to the brain. And you know, we got a lot of problems today with Alzheimer's, and that is a sad, sad disease. When families have a loved one who has Alzheimer's, it is very sad. I knew a man once whose wife wandered off, and she made the 10 o'clock news. She was at the mall. He did not know where she was, and they found her at the mall. So it's something you want to guard against. And again, it goes right back. You know, nothing is 100%, but you can make a big difference by the foods you're eating. Doctors today are calling Alzheimer's diabetes number 3 because of the foods we eat that are causing that sugar problem and affecting the brain. So again, getting back to the diet, there are nutrients that can help the diet. Dr. James Pinland, he did some interesting studies. One I always remember is boron. It's just one of many minerals that are good for the brain, but he actually put people on a diet that was deficient in boron and one that was high in boron, and he found in his study that those who had boron in their diet just moved. Their electrical pulses were faster, they could tap their fingers faster, they were just more alert. Simple mineral. And so that, and boron is in nuts, whole foods again, dark leafy greens. Okay. Now I want to talk about low-fat diet. You know, when my kids were little, I'm aging myself here, but low fat, no fat became popular. Everything was no fat, low fat, and mothers started giving their children that. What we know now is the brain needs fat. We had to go through a whole generation of low fat to now find out from some of the leaders in the nation that you've got to have fat. Not the bad fats, not the French fries and those kind of things, good fats. Olive oil, nuts, seeds, these kind of things are good for your brain. It's interesting. My partner Ron and I have a friend, her name is Eva Jean, and she was having some memory problems. It was just starting to show. So they piled her in a car and brought her to Seattle to see Dr. Amen, A-M-E-N. You've probably seen his infomercial on TV. And he actually has a clinic. I think he has several clinics around the world. And she spent a day there, And what she found out, what they told her, start eating some fat. That's a few other things too, but they wanted her to have some fat for the brain. So I thought that was interesting. Well, we're going to start talking now about a program I've written in the last year called Waist Watchers Winners. Really inspired. I just woke up one morning and had the idea to put this together. I have a lot of experience in weight loss. I worked for Nutrisystem in my younger years, and with Dr. Wright, who I talked about earlier, I did a weight loss program. And I have personal experience too. I'll tell you about that in a minute. But I really believe this program to be inspired. It's 60 days of short email blasts. You get one a day. They're short. They will take 2 to 3 minutes out of your day, because I know everybody is busy. But it works not so much on diet. There's a million diets out there you can do. You can pick the diet you want. And I do have some books myself, Juice to Lose, and different programs. You can use one of my diets, but you can pick any diet. It's mostly about the way you think. Now, so each day has also a scripture with it and a Bible principle. So it's great if you have a Bible study and you want to do a 10-week course. It's a great thing to think about. So why 60 days? People say, why did you make it 60 days? Well, that kind of started with a doctor in the 50s called Dr. Max Maltz. And he was a plastic surgeon. And he discovered over time that it took his patients who had had plastic surgery 21 days to get used to their new face. And he followed that. He thought, well, that's interesting. And then he found out that when people have an amputation, it takes them 21 days to get used to it. So there was something magical about the 21 days. What scientists now know is that it takes about 21 days to develop a new habit. So that work has been continued on today. They're still sticking with the 21-day theory, but to really, really change a habit, they say you should do 21 times 3. 3 overlays of a new habit, and you have developed a new lifelong habit. And that's what you really want to do. And you know what? I have personal experience with that. I broke my ankle last summer at my sister's. She has a step-down living room, and I just kept walking straight. I broke my ankle. It wasn't fun. I came back home to Seattle, and I was laid up for 3 months, and I had a knee stroller, which you've probably seen them. They're like you put your knee up, and you, instead of having to use crutches, you can stroll. But it's too hard to turn, so you go back and forth, is what you do. I had that for 60 days, and when I went back to the doctor, after 60 days, he took the cast off and left it wrapped and wanted me to use the knee stroller for a while longer. But then even when I got off the knee stroller, what I found was when I would use the knee stroller, I'd have to roll into the room and roll back out. When I got off the knee stroller the first few days, when I would walk into the bathroom, I would find myself walking backwards to get out. When I would go in the laundry room, I would find myself walking backwards to get out. And I had to chuckle because I realized that I had developed a new way to enter and exit a room based on what I had been doing the previous 60 days. So I thought that was really interesting. So the program is called Waist Watchers Winners, and you can see it on Health Treasure Chest, which is my website. And there are actually the first 7 days are complimentary, so you can have a look at it and see if it's something you might want to do. I have really tried hard to put passion and helpful hints in this program for those of you who are struggling with weight, which I know I have, so I understand that struggle. You know, I have a few graphs and charts I love, and one is the ladder to success, and I love this. I've used this for decades. It takes you from I won't to I did. And in between those steps are I can't, what is it, I wish I could, I don't know how. But it really shows you the process of change. I have found in my clinical experience and in my personal life, when somebody says I won't, you might as well find somebody else because they're not interested. At least if they'll say I can't, or what is it, you've got somebody who might be willing to make some changes. So that's the most important thing, is if you want to make changes, you've got to say, what is it? How can I do it? I'm ready. Let me ask you, where are you on that ladder? Where are you in your desire to lose some weight or change a habit? This doesn't just have to be about weight loss. It can be about changing any habit you have in your life that you want to change. So I'll tell you what, I am no stranger to dieting. Let me tell you a little bit about me. I was a professional ballet dancer. I danced for American Ballet Theater in New York. Actually started dancing when I was 4 and went to New York when I was 20. Now, at about 11 years old, I was starting to get into some of the solo roles, and you have to wear a tutu. You know what a tutu is. Well, I was too heavy. My dancing teacher would say I was 3-4 pounds over. Of course, in a tutu, that shows. But she would say, "You're too heavy, Kathy. You're going to have to do the Sunday matinee. You cannot do opening night Saturday. You're too heavy." I heard that my whole dancing. Then guess what I did? I went and became a flight attendant when I was 21. I flew for Continental Airlines, and guess what? They had weight check back then. And I weighed, my maximum weight at that time was 129. That was the most I could weigh. Now, in those days, if you weighed more than your goal, you were grounded. And if you were grounded, what that meant is no paycheck. So then you would immediately go on, usually I would go on a starvation diet or fast or whatever. They would literally send you downtown to downtown Seattle to the doctor, who would tell you, give you a diet and send you on your way. And the last time I remember, the doctor told me I had mild obesity. You know, I've never forgotten that. I said, "Doctor, mild obesity? I'm a pound overweight." He said, "Well, it's just a medical term." But I always remembered that mild obesity. So I've had these issues, and then I got into pregnancies and all the rest. So I get the whole weight loss scene. I know it's tough, but it's just so exciting to know that if you want to begin to change the way you think, you can begin to make permanent changes. Now, I'm going to put something on the screen here in just a second, and you will see it. It's 3 triangles. I'm going to put it up there for 7 seconds. And I would like for you to look at it and read what's in the 3 triangles. After 7 seconds, I'll turn it off. Now, these are expressions you've heard before. So are you ready? Go. Okay, there was 7 seconds. What did you read? What did you read? Did you read A Bird in the Hand, Springtime in Paris, Once in a Lifetime? Probably you did. Let's put it back on the screen now, but this time I'm going to leave it a little bit longer, and I want you to really concentrate on the words. Are you ready? Go. Okay, what did you read that time? I bet you caught yourself. It says A Bird in the Hand, Springtime in Paris, and whatever the other one was. So what does that mean? Well, you know what? We're busy people. We have learned to look at things the way we've always looked at them, and that's just how we'll always do it. Unless we decide we're going to change, we're going to repeat the same habits over and over and over. Have you said things like, "It's no use, I'll always be fat"? "It's no use, I'll never fit in the size I want to fit in"? "It's no use, I'll never lose weight"? Those are habits you've developed, and you can change that, but you have to remember that ladder, the success ladder, and decide you want to move up that ladder. Maybe you do things like say, "I can't help it. I have to eat donuts. It's just what I do. It's just too hard not to." Or, I just have to have the soda. But you know what I've learned? Sometimes bad habits are harder to stick with than good habits because they cause all kinds of problems in your life. Now I want to talk a little bit about handling triggers. We've all got them. You know, food triggers can be seeing food, of course, smelling food, even hearing things like hearing a potato chip bag open. It can start the saliva flowing, and you think about food. Even if you're not hungry, you might think about food. So in my years of working in weight loss, what I learned that I thought was really important is you can be an automatic eater, and that is basically see food, eat food. That's what we do a lot of the time. We don't really think about, am I hungry? Do I need it? What is that going to do to me? We don't think about that, we just eat it. And then there's a more sophisticated eater, and this is what you can be learning in these lessons, these 60 Waist Watchers lessons, is how to be a sophisticated eater, how to stop and think about what you're going to eat, make a decision. And maybe you will decide to go ahead and eat it, but at least you decided it wasn't automatic. And that's becoming a sophisticated eater. But the first step, of course, is awareness. You've got to be aware that you're doing these behaviors, and then you can begin to work on changing them. And then there's the domino effect. Have you ever done this? I know I have. That is, oh well, I already ate that pizza. I might as well just eat everything I want today. And tomorrow I'm going to start my diet again. And tomorrow comes, and you're doing great until your stomach gets hungry, and then guess what? You do it again. It's, oh well, I blew it again. That's okay. I'll start tomorrow. Does that sound familiar? It's familiar to so many dieters, but it's a trap. It really is a trap. When you slip, well, let me just say this. When you begin to mature in thinking, you can take a slip and you can say, well, you know, wish I hadn't eaten that, but I did. But it's just okay. I know I had it. I'm going to make some adjustments, but I am not going off track. This is my new way of eating. I am going to continue on my plan. I want to tell you one more thing I've learned recently, because I've been working on some weight loss recently. For me, don't get hungry. That, if I could say to a dieter about anything, it'd be don't get hungry. For me, when I get hungry, it's when I would get into trouble. But if I think, now you have to think about food, that means you can't just get up and run out the door and not even think about it till you're starving at 11 in the morning. You need to think, what am I going to have for breakfast tomorrow? Keep your stomach full. And you're going to be much more likely to be able to say no to some of the treats. One thing I've really noticed recently in my research, these treats that we eat, these donuts and cookies and candies and soda, most of them we don't eat because we're hungry. It doesn't really have anything to do with hunger. It has to do with taste good. So we might eat a normal day's food, all the normal calories that you take, and then like I went to my Bible study a month ago and they had cake and ice cream. Now I didn't eat it because I left before it was there because I knew it would be a temptation. But I realized I'd already eaten my full day's meal. I had a little snack left. Had I eaten that, I would have added another 800,000 calories onto my daily intake, which you can get away with once in a while, but boy, if you're doing that every day, it just makes it really tough to lose weight. So I want to tell you, there's a couple books that I'm going to recommend. One is Dr. Carolyn Leaf's book, Who Switched Off My Brain? And she talks about how you can change your brain. It's a worthy read, Who Switched Off My Brain? And there's another book I read on recently called The Thin Woman's Brain. And the author's name is Dila Surriel, S-U-R-I-E-L. The Thin Woman's Brain. So interesting. She's trying to figure out why she had a weight problem. And none of her friends did. And she just started doing, she was a researcher, she did the research, and she realized that she had her brain programmed to crave food, whereas her friends, they enjoyed food as much as she did, but they weren't programmed to think that way. They thought about food when they were hungry, and that was it. They didn't think about food all day long, and that's what she was doing. Interesting story she writes in the book. When she did finally lose her weight, after lots of things that she learned, she got rid of her big clothes. We'll call them her big clothes instead of her fat clothes. But she got rid of them, and she said, I was really shocked to see that when I opened my closet and pulled out those clothes, most all of the blouses had food spilled on them. And she said it was my way of thinking. And so that was very interesting to me. But she was able to change that behavior. I think that it is really true in life. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. So are you ready? Are you ready to get that weight off? Hopefully these lessons can help you. A success habit that is beneficial to a lot of people, and I learned this from Brian Tracy, who is a very powerful motivational speaker. Maybe you've heard of him. And what he's learned over decades is really, really successful people do three things. Number one, they set goals. Number two, they're result-oriented. And number three, they're self-disciplined. So those are three things that you can be learning and changing and can make a big difference in your life. Let me ask you, what one habit would you like to develop right now that would make a bigger difference in your life than anything? What one thing would you like to do? Think about that. Okay, now, I want to tell this story that I remember this, so I think I'll share it with you. When I worked at Nutrisystems, a long time ago I worked at Nutrisystem, we had two people that came in. One was a lady, a young woman, and she had a little bit of an attitude about weight loss. She felt a little bit put out because she had to lose weight, and it was Cinco de Mayo, which is Mexican food. And I remember her saying in class, kind of pouty, I'm going to eat my Mexican food and nobody's going to take it away from me. And I thought at the time, wow, that's a defeatist attitude. And then we had this guy that he worked at the military base, and he was like lieutenant colonel, and he came in and he lost weight. And I asked him one day, I said, Joe, how come you lost weight? He just looked at me and said, well, what do you mean? I just decided to. I thought, wow, that's pretty good. He just decided to. And I could see that the lady was going to have a problem because she didn't have her attitude exactly right. Okay, so now one last thing we're going to do, I'm going to put on the screen, I think you probably see it right now, 9 dots. And I want you to try this. You can make 9 dots on a piece of paper, take a pencil or a pen, and go through the center of every dot without ever lifting your pen off the paper. You can make 4 lines, 1, 2, 3, 4. You cannot lift your pen off the paper, but you have to go through the center of all those dots with 1 line. Give that a try, and I will give you the answer to that on our next the next video. So in the meantime, that's just kind of a little look at Waist Watchers Winners. There's 60 lessons, and they're good, and they're great for your PTA or your Bible study or your neighborhood group, because they come with a workbook that you can sit, you can watch the 20-minute video, and then you can sit and work through some of the questions on what you've learned. By the way, the first 7 days are free. You can see that at the website, which is Health Treasure Chest. So until the next video, God bless.